All right. Good evening, everybody. So, Brian, you're going to man the
I will try to.
waiting room. All
Yes.
right. Very good. All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our first coaches Zoom meeting for Wisconsin First Lego League. Very exciting to get the new season underway. My name is Craig Peterman. I am the PDP. I sometimes forget what that stands for. Program Delivery Partner. I volunteer for BadgerBots, and BadgerBots is responsible for putting on the first Lego League programs, both Challenge and Explore. So this evening we're going to talk about Challenge, but if there's any Explore coaches on the call, we will be having a couple Explore Zoom meetings later on as the season progresses. But tonight is about Challenge. Our first one, the season as well, both seasons kicked off a week ago or 2 weeks ago, actually. And so now is an opportunity for us as a community to get together, talk about the program, go through some of the details, make sure everybody's on the same page. Um, and you're not just going to hear from me. We've also got, at least tonight, two of the other FLL Brain Trust here, Brian Farrell, who is one of our two head judge advisors. Brian, say hello, please.
Well, please.
Thank you. And one of our two state head refs is here, Jay Church.
Hello, hello.
And I believe at least Allison is going to join us later, I think, another head ref. And we aren't sure about our other head judge advisor, Brian Hicks. Hopefully, he'll be able to step in as well. As you came into the room, you likely heard that we are recording this session. So we do post the meetings on our YouTube channel. Give Jay a day or two, please, before looking for it. But it will be up there as well as, it doesn't really go away. So you can review this, or other coaches can review the meeting at their leisure. Um, so with that, why don't we get into the program a little bit? And I guess the way I want to start is, and again, if some of you are new coaches, some of you are experienced coaches. I want to start off by giving, I guess, what is my advice for what can make this a very successful season for you and, of course, for your kids. One, use the resources that are made available to you. We got these Zoom meetings every Monday, 7:30. As I said, they'll be also posted on our YouTube channel, the link of which is in the newsletter. So you have opportunities again to watch it if you can't make it. One of the edicts, mantras, modes of our program, and as well as it should be across the entire first spectrum for FLL, is kids do the work. You're going to see that and hear that a lot. What that means is you all, as coaches, mentors, you want to guide, advise, ask questions, keep them interested. You're going to do a lot of managing. But at the end of the day, we want the kids to do the work, meaning they're going to build their trifolds for their innovative project. They're going to, or actually for anything else they want to build trifolds for, build the attachments, do the coding. We want the kids to do as much of the work as possible because that's how they learn. And we do monitor that during the competitive events, which are the first round are regionals. We don't want to see coaches on laptops doing coding when the kids should obviously be doing that themselves. So you're going to hear kids do the work again and again throughout the season. In general, pay attention to the details. They can change in any given notice because maybe our regional venue had a issue and then it need to be relocated, or maybe certain volunteers couldn't step up and some changes needed to be made. So pay attention to the details. We try to keep the weekly newsletter, which you get on Mondays, the most current. And then after that, we will disseminate that to, for example, the Slack channel. Everybody gets an invite to the Slack channel where coaches can communicate with each other, ask questions of Jay, Brian, or Allison, or me for that matter. Um, so if you want to learn and communicate, be part of that community, jump on that Slack channel. If you have any issues with that, please email FLLteams@badgerbots.org and we will get you into the Slack channel. And that the Slack channel actually is also for Explore coaches as well, mostly related to Challenge, but nonetheless Explore as well. And then you're going to hear from us throughout the season or in private conversations. What can I do to make my team better? And we are going to remind you again and again, one of the best ways to do that is actually to volunteer to judge at one of the regionals or events that you are not participating in. The greatest way to figure out how to prep your team is to figure out how they're being judged. And you can really only do that if you're part of that process. So you're going to hear that again and again throughout the season. So those are my key highlights of how you can, help your team and, of course, help yourselves get through this season. I coached a long time ago. My son currently is a sophomore at UW-Madison. I coached him when he was third grade all the way through the high school program, FTC. So I'm more in tune with the high school, but not, coaching process. But nonetheless, it's extraordinarily rewarding. I wouldn't have traded it for anything, especially to see my own son and then his friends just develop over the years is truly amazing. So I hope you all get the same experience. All right. Is there a question? No. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is briefly go through the season outline, and then I'm going to ask our head judge advisors and state head referees to just briefly go through what they know for the upcoming season. And then we're going to open it up for any questions. Obviously, when I go through my piece, if you do have a question, please throw it into the chat or interrupt me. Either way, we'll get the information to you. So between now and September, teams are forming. We have already 160 challenge teams in the state already signed
160
up.
teams registered. Sorry.
Oh, somebody's on there. All right.
Hi, Allison.
Sorry, I didn't know I was unmuted. My bad.
You're good.
That is our other state head referee for at least the next 20 minutes. Anyway,
Wow,
thank you.
tough today.
So we're running a tight ship this season. All right. So teams are forming and we'll get registered. And then the next registration process will be to sign up for one of the regionals that we will have throughout the state. Those of you that saw the newsletter today, it gave you some general information about, the date and the city in which it is taking place. We will give you more details, like as in where it is in that area. And then in late September, we will send out the registration process where the coaches will go in, one per team, and you will rank the top 3 regionals that you would like to attend. Usually it's geography related. Other times it's whatever is on the calendar that works with your team's schedule. Whatever your criteria is, you will get a chance to rank your top 3 choices. Each team only gets to compete at one regional. So we do our best to give each team their top preference, but we do have capacity limitations. A lot of coaches, especially a lot of new coaches, they always go for whatever the last one is to give their team more time to prepare. What that means, though, is 40 teams will have put that as their first preference, but we only have capacity for 20. So keep that in mind when you're making your preferences. Not everybody gets their first choice, but we have had a success ratio of roughly 91, 92% the last couple of years. So we have added a couple more regionals this year. So hopefully we will be able to meet the needs of as many teams as we possibly can. There will be a comment field where if you have special needs, if you have you can't participate on a Sunday, if there's some sectional consideration we need to know about, you will have the opportunity to put that information in there, and that will go into the assignment process. The window will remain open for 3 weeks, plus or minus a couple days. And then we will go through the algorithm of assigning the teams based on their preferences. Emails will go out to all the coaches that are assigned to that particular regional, and that will all happen, pretty quickly. Of course, it will happen after all the teams have been assigned. Then I will get a handful of emails that will say, oops, I'm sorry, we made a mistake. We can't do this. Can we go somewhere else? And we'll have to work through those issues, but usually that's not too bad. All right. So once that's done, and then there will be there is a participation fee. If you saw that in today's newsletter, we added that detail. The regional fee stays the same, $175 per team. But we did increase the advanced round fee, which is a one-time, both sectional and for those that advance to the championship, it's just $70. So once you sign up for the regional, get assigned, the payment process will be in the same email that gives you your assignment. So expect that about the first week of October. Excuse me. The window's open for about 3 weeks, so it'll be about the second or third week of October. All right. So you guys will all be doing your thing between September and October, working with the kids, going through the rubrics. For those of you that aren't aware, more resources are at firstinspires.org. There's an engineering notebook. There's the robot rules. There are plenty of resources there to help coaches help their kids. So, again, use that link. And in fact, it was in the welcome letter. For those of you that have registered, you get a welcome letter. The menu process is in there. So then during November and December, if you saw from the newsletter with the schedule, we have our regionals every weekend, usually Saturday and Sunday, from November 1st all the way through December, mid-December, and taking off for Thanksgiving, of course. So then once the regionals happen, about a third of the teams will advance to the sectionals. So plus or minus, rounding to the nearest team, of course. We may have to make some adjustments based on the size of the sectionals, but the rule of thumb is we want about a third of the teams to advance. The sectionals will occur at 3 locations in later December. December 13th is one of them, and then the other 2 is December 20th. The teams that perform well, are judged well, do well on the tables, they will then, roughly a third from each sectional, will then advance to the championship on January 18th in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. So that's the general outline of the season. Obviously, the most important part is what you coaches do with the time that you have, September to October. And we want to give you as much information, as many resources as we can to help that be successful for you and your teams. Any questions about the season structure and possible resources available to you? Anything in the chat, Jay? Are you monitoring the chat?
Yep, I'm watching. So there's just a question about Explore. I don't know if you want to do that now, or she says you can answer it online as well.
Yeah, I mean, Explore will have a separate Explore Festival directors meeting probably in the next couple of weeks, and then we'll work on that calendar and start publicizing that. So
sorry,
give me a couple of weeks.
To clarify, it was how to register for event. Oh, for events.
How to register for
Gotcha.
Okay, that will come. Explore will come later. Promise, it's coming. All right. right. Well, if there aren't any other further questions, then let me reintroduce Brian Farrell, our one of our two head judge advisors. Maybe you can share just your thoughts on what you see with the upcoming season.
Sure. 1 second here. I'm just going to share the website. You should see the first website, right?
Yep.
Okay, this is the same one Craig talked about. Um, I just like to make sure that everybody knows how to navigate to where they got to be. The big thing is click on programs. If you're using on a smaller display screen, that'll be like a waffle in the upper right-hand corner typically. But just go to the waffle program. We're talking about first Lego League here. Go to game and season, and that's where they start to talk about the challenge versus the discover versus explore. Primarily focusing on challenge today, so click on challenge season material, and it gives you a lot of really good information, some of which you might have already found, like the mission building instructions are here. Here's a team meeting guide. This is a great guide for coaches. I'm going to point out a couple of them here. It was the engineering notebook, the rubrics, and word list and session flowchart. I think I have everything I need. From a season perspective, engineering notebook is important because it talks about the innovation project. Okay, it's important, work through it with your kids. There's a lot of good stuff here. They talk about the core values, and they talk about the 4 different areas of First Lego League: robot design, robot game, core values, and innovation project. And that's important because each of those is 25% of how we go to when we start looking at awards at competitions. So if you're very robot game focused, design focused, but don't do anything with innovation project and core values, that tends to show up during the competitions, and that impacts teams' ability to advance. One common question we get is, we were the top team in robot performance, why aren't we advancing? Okay, and it really comes down to how well you did in all 4 areas, not just the robot game.
And there's a couple questions about town hall right away. I don't know if you want to address those as you're going, or
Hold on, we unbury them.
Actually, I just answered that. That's I'll talk about that afterwards.
Yeah, town hall's a different thing. Okay. Then they talk about robot design in the game. I'll let Jay and Allison talk about that. With the innovation project, again, the innovation project is 25%, as well as these core values that are listed up here. Those are each 25%, these 6 core values. So work with your team on those as well. And there's a prompt for the innovation project. Okay. And in the unearthed season, your team's challenge is to identify a problem faced by an archaeologist and propose a solution to that. That can help. Okay. So they're looking for innovative solutions to a problem. So if you have a problem statement, you should be able to tie it to this prompt. Okay, that's an important thing. So we had last year was ocean. People did a lot of stuff around cleaning out the oceans from plastic, but if they failed to tie it to the prompt from last year, that hurt them. We would just want to make sure that people are aware here that you want to tie your problem that you're working on to the prompt, because the judges will be looking for that in the judging session. Hopping over to and talking about the judging session, high level. The rubrics, again, these are all on the first website. You saw me open the links. These are the same rubrics we use at competition. So you have the answer sheet if you think about it that way. So the judging session feedback sheet is the judges really giving feedback to the teams about things they did well and things they can work on. And then the breakthrough, there's some check marks they can make down here for breakthrough award, rising all-star, and motivate. These are just pointing out that if they think that your team did a really good job in in part of these areas that they'll kind of nominate the team that way, and it's just kind of a little shout out. And then there is a full rubric for innovation project and robot design. We'll talk about how that goes into the judging session in a second. The innovation project and robot design each have squares and gears. The rows with gears actually count towards both the area they're in. So in this case, this is innovation project, and in core values. So they're kind of double weighted that way. And then the same thing in robot design. The squares are just robot design, and the gears are both robot design and core values. So make sure have the kids understand these rubrics, go through them with them, so that they can, as they work on their project and robot presentations, that they kind of take those things into mind what the judges are looking for.
This one is for you. Be more specific about the prompt for innovation project.
Okay. So again, the prompt is, okay, to identify a problem that is faced by archaeologists and propose a solution to that can help. And actually, there's some ideas that you can use as starting points for your teams down in these project sparks. They'll give you some different ideas that you can start going through. You don't have to do one of these, but it kind of helps you with those ideas. Okay. The prompts there's an open-endedness to it. Okay. But again, work to tie your problem back to the prompt of a problem that an archaeologist has in this case. Does that help? Okay. Yeah, basically I brought up the awards sheet just so you can see that there's different awards we give out, the required awards we give at each tournament. That's Champions Award, Core Values, Innovation Project, Robot Design, Robot Performance, and the Coach Mentor Award. These are all required awards that we have to give, and then we can give other awards, some optional awards, or Engineering Excellence, Breakthrough, Rising All-Star, Motivate. You notice the Breakthrough, Rising Star, and Motivate are ones that tie back to that check mark on the rubric. And then the Peer Award is actually one where the teams nominate other teams for an award. So we do like that as an award as well. And again, they're talking here about that each is 25%. So your rank in innovation project, your rank in core values, your rank in robot design, and your robot game rank. Okay, robot game rank is based on the rank you are in the standings, based on the robot performance after the 3 matches. Your highest score is the one that counts for it. There is ways to arbitrate ties in this process, but robot game rank, so if you've got a top score, you're first place. So it's really that first, second, third, fourth. It doesn't matter if there's a big drop off between first and second, or seventh and eighth or something. It's really that rank number that we're looking at there. And we do the same thing with ranking the teams across the other areas. Again, you want to find out how to be a better coach and how the process really works. Do you sign up to judge? Don't sign up at a tournament your team is at. We want you supporting your team, but there's plenty of tournaments in Wisconsin, and we'd love to have your help. And the judging session flowchart, and we'll cover more of this stuff as we go. But high level at a tournament, when they go into judging, this is kind of the flowchart of how a judging session goes. They come in, they get welcome, they'll set up, and they'll get into their innovation project presentation. They have 5 minutes for that. They'll switch into question and answer from the judges for 5 minutes, then robot design for 5 minutes. The team talks about the robot, the design strategy, things like that, programming, and then judges will do a 5-minute Q&A. And then there's some chance for final share and feedback. So the teams can give any last minute things that they want to make sure the judges are aware of, but also leaving time for the judges to be able to ask some final questions they may have and to be able to give the team some verbal feedback. They will get, if you remember the feedback form on the rubrics, they will get written feedback there, but this is another chance for feedback. And then the team leaves the room and the judges will be filling out that rubric. So
Any major changes from last year, Brian?
no major changes from last year. And then there is no expectation for a core values presentation. Some teams have, as you're alluding to, put that in the final sharing feedback time, but there's no official core values section, presentation time. So the final sharing feedback, but the judges will also be looking for information during the innovation project presentation and answers, and as well as robot design and answers. I'm just kind of looking at the question from the chat.
Okay.
That's all I have for now.
All right. Any questions for Brian?
Are
If
the
not,
competitions already up online for us to register for? Not for as teams, but as volunteers?
yes, it
Okay.
should be. Yep. So what Jen is referring to is if you want to volunteer to be a judge or volunteer for any event for that matter, not necessarily a judge, but we do encourage we do encourage coaches to judge. If you go to your dashboard at firstinspires.org and look to volunteer at events, do your sorting, scrolling for Wisconsin FLL Challenge events, and hopefully all our 13 or 14 events are there ready to be ready for volunteers to sign up.
My water there.
All right. Any other questions about judging or the season before we jump into the minutia of the robot? I'm sorry, before we jump into the robot game. All right,
I was
well,
just
let's give
gonna
it
hop
to
over to
Jay
Sorry,
Church. Oh, go ahead.
I'm driving. I had to get off of mute. This is Amy from Pewaukee. I just want to clarify. If I were to sign up to volunteer to judge, but I am not a coach of a team, but one of the teams that I administer is there, I can still judge. You just won't put them in my room. So we have 10 teams that are going to be registered from Pewaukee. And
Mhm.
one of the things that Robin and I have set out to do is to judge at least one, hopefully two. But with our number of teams, there's guaranteed that we're going to have at least one team at one that we're able to judge at. But we're not the coaches of them. So would we still be able to judge? If we had a Pewaukee team, say at Marquette, but Robin and I are not coaches of that team, we could potentially judge at Marquette.
Brian, you want to take that?
Okay, I was trying to figure if you were going to do it or you want me to. So the answer is we can try and work through that. Okay. With that in mind, the more teams you have at a tournament, the harder it is to do that because we wouldn't put you in a room where your team was. And also, just so everybody understands, anything that is said in the judging discussions and deliberations can't be shared back to the teams. And that person who is, in this case, if Amy is an example, would be in that room and we're making decisions. You can't weigh in on that for those teams. So if you've got a team there, you don't get to tell them about what the discussions, but you also don't get to vote for them. If there's a tie or something we're talking through, you don't get to weigh in on that.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add is that when you do volunteer to judge and you go through the system, the last question it asks you is there a team that there's a potential conflict of
That team.
interest? And so obviously we request, beg, require to the extent that we can that you identify that so we don't get ourselves into a conflict of interest situation.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify because it's hard with that many teams, but
Mhm.
we also know how important it is to give back to the program.
We shall work through it. And the worst case scenario is we say, no, we can't figure it out. And then you'll have to volunteer a different way. Worst case scenario. All right. Any other questions about judging or the innovative project? If not, then let's pass it on to, well, you met Jay earlier. Allison Conrad is our other head state rep. So the two of you, what you got?
You want me to go? Okay, I'll go. Okay, guys. Sorry, I was just pulling up documents as we were going through here. Hi, welcome to another season. I'm going to go through kind of the same thing Brian did here, so you guys can get kind of an overview. We will field questions for any of the robot game mission models, scoring conditions that we have at the moment. I'll give you guys a fair warning. We don't really deal with a lot of the really hard edge case questions until we have a head referee meeting, which will be happening next week. So all of the head referees and the experienced referees that we've had throughout the state, we all get together. We kind of flesh out all the different rulings, the edge cases we can think of, and decide how we're going to rule as a state. And we try to keep that consistent. That's why we want to get kind of a consensus of all the different ones before we give you guys those rulings. But that being said, kind of the more simple ones, we've already been through answering quite a few of them this season, and I can go through those at the end of the session here. But first, I'm going to share kind of the same thing that Brian did, and I'll show you guys how to get into your rule book.
You got it? You want me to do it?
I can get it.
Okay.
I thought I could. Okay, is my book up? Okay. I mean, okay, so here's how you get into the robot game information. Just like Brian was showing you, first inspires.org. I'll let you guys go back and see how he got into that if you want to. But where we're dealing with is the first thing that you guys should look at all the time when you start a practice session is your game rule updates. There were some updates on day one, so make sure you guys understand what these are. These supersede every other rule in the rule book. Okay. We've actually had quite a few questions about the mission number 2 and how these are scored. It has 3 different sections there. We'll go over that one. I'm probably not going to go. Well, we're definitely not going to go through all the missions with you guys tonight. It's going to take forever to do that, but I can kind of scroll through them and you guys can get questions formulated. But this one is kind of, we've had quite a few questions about how each one of these sections score. So you'll see the one, we'll point it out with the loop that has to be completely removed, so it's no longer touching the model. And then the second section, it has a latch that has to drop, and the third one has to be rotated until there's it's a line on the mat, and it's very close. So let's see if I can point that out to you guys. So, okay, that's that one. Let me see if I can pull up the game. So also off that link, or off that that page that I just showed, is the robot game rulebook. I'm sure you guys have seen this already by now. So we'll just go through kind of some of the top level stuff. So the robot game counts for 25% of your score. Um, so the way we run it in Wisconsin, we have one practice round that you'll get a score for that, so you can kind of see how you're doing, and then you have 3 scored rounds. And generally, we try to give you guys a pretty good break between, so you can update your programming, stuff like that. So there are also practice tables at the events. So check with your tournament directors when you sign up. They'll give you guys information on how to sign up for practice tables or how the practice tables work. Sometimes there's a ticket that you need to get. Sometimes there's a time slot you just sign up for. So just make sure you guys are talking to your tournament directors there. Okay. I assume by now most of you people have built your kits, so we don't need to go through any of that. One thing we do need to look at, I did post on Slack, our tournament tables, our competition tables sit at about 29 inches. So if new teams out there are building tables, that's kind of where we are. You can build them to whatever specs they call out, and it's a big range between 24 inches and 36. We're at 29. So if you want to kind of match what we have, that's where we are.
Common thing for height wise for that is
that's the width of the table. That's the width of the table.
Fair question. The 29 inches is the height of the table. So
the height of the table.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I actually can't click off of here into the table building, but there's a guide to build your tables. They're based on a 4x8 sheet of plywood.
Okay.
And then there's a border, a wall around each side. 2x3s are what they use for building.
Generally, it's the height of a fold-out table. Like the white fold-out tables are usually about 29 inches. Just to
right,
give
or
you an
standard
idea.
sawhorses, right?
Yeah, so
But
horses, anything.
Yep, that's specifically why we are at 29 inches. So you're.
so we basically put the table that gets built on top of that poly table or the sawhorses.
Yep.
Just so people envision what that looks like.
Okay. So I'm just going to go over some of the key things here. We'll let you guys ask questions, and we'll go from there. So one thing you guys do need to know, teams last year will know this. New teams, this is pretty important. Be sure you know what your no equipment constraint means. Whenever you see this symbol with the Lego and then the crosshatch through it, that means that team equipment cannot be touching that mission at the end of the match, or the score will not count for that. Okay? We'll be going over that rule many, many, many times, I'm sure, but make sure you know what that means. If you don't know what it means, make sure you ask us, because it's really important. Your kids are going to get kind of upset when they have, what they believe are points sitting on the board and they're not getting scored for them. Okay? Like I said, I'm not going to go through every process right now. It would take us 2 hours to get through, but I'll go through each of the mission models here, and anyone that we had questions on, I'll be happy to let you guys know what we have discussed at that point. Okay. So this is the big one we've had so far. There are 3 different ways of scoring, or 3 different sections here that get scored. There's a line on the table, and I'll see if I can zoom in on it. This section here has to be folded around this way, and there's a line that's actually sitting underneath this. And in order for this one to score, this has to be closed pretty tightly, and there's a line that you'll see on the side here. This one here, there's a lever that drops here, and this one is removing the loop, or removing the section. We had a question today about, can we expect this loop to be in the same position? This loop is here on the mission model build, and it's also here on the setup in this position. So I'd say if you're roughly in this position, you're good. If it's the loop is leaning over, folded down, something like that, I think you can ask for someone to check that model, because it should, within reason, match the setup guide.
One thing at tournaments though, so if students come up to the board and it's all cattywampus, it's bent over, they can ask a referee
Yeah.
to correct it. But we do not want the students to just be going up to mission models and adjusting orientation, placement, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We have rules that we are allowed to work in for adjusting things, but there are limits to what we can do. So we can't have a student sitting there with a caliper getting it in just the right spot. So that's why we say that.
Yep. That was my caveat within reason there. So if it looks, pretty much like the build guide, that's pretty much where it's going to be. If it doesn't look right, you can ask. I mean, your kids can always ask us to do something. We don't get offended if they want us to check something. We don't get offended if they want to question us about a rule or why we're ruling something a specific way. But we do want to deal with the kids. So this is more specifically for the newer coaches out there. When you guys are at the competition tables, we want to be talking to the kids. We want the kids to ask about rules, ask about table setups. The scoring is done with the kids. If there's a situation when we're done at the table with the kids that you guys think you need to clarify with us, there'll be head referees there that the coaches can, call over and talk to, to the side. But we want the kids to really be advocating for themselves, asking about rule clarifications and so on and so forth. So, all right. So some of these, like I said, they do have the no touch rule. You guys really need to make sure the kids understand what team equipment is. Okay, team equipment is anything that your team brings to the table with you. Team equipment is not another mission model. So if you push, for instance, if you push a mission model into this for some reason, that does not negate your points because it's not team equipment. So definitely understand the nuances of the rules here. Certain things like there's a scoring condition that has to happen on mission 3. And if you look down here at the blue, it tells you that your team's minecart must pass completely through the mine shaft entry to score points for the mission. So this has to go through completely through the shaft entry. Okay, so definitely do pay attention to the blue points because some of them tell you, specific things they have to do to get points. Some of them tell you what we're looking for scoring conditions, right? Okay, again, not to get overly technical here, I'm not going to go way deep in the weeds. This mission model and this mission model, 3 and 4, are the same model. Okay, one has a no equipment constraint, the other one does not. So what happens if both items are in a scoring position and a piece of equipment's touching the mission model? So the way we work with that is each mission itself is separate. They're scored separately. So if both were in a scoring condition, the robot happens to be against the mission model, you would get points for the one without the constraint. You would not get points for the one with the constraint. Okay? And I have noticed here, and Allison, correct me if I'm wrong, it looks like whenever they want, whenever they need both scoring conditions or the first scoring condition to be true for the second one to go, they're putting bonus down here. So like
Right.
this is a separate scoring condition. This is a separate scoring condition. Some of them will
You can see
say,
it on mission 3. Wait, go back up.
oh, sorry.
The minecart has a bonus.
There we go. So in order to get this 10 points, this has to be, because it says and, right? So you get your 10 points here or your 30 points here, and the bonus is and the opposing team's minecart is here. I'm going to say Minecraft a billion times, I guarantee it. Okay. So do make sure you guys are reading the blue. There is no designation, or there's no difference in the blue and the beige cogs here, or the, preserved pieces outside the slab. There was going to be a reason for it, but there is not now. Okay, nothing crazy here. Again, if you guys have specific questions on these when we get to the end of the session, we'll go that route. Again, here's another one that has a bonus, right? So you can't get this 10 points unless this 20 points has scored. Okay. Here's one we've had a couple questions about. So this sand element here, it doesn't really matter where this sand ends up. The sand is considered completely cleared when the pull activator is past the line on the mat. So there's a line on the mat, and you pull the activator, or the activator has to end up past the line. If it's past the line, the sand counts as cleared. If it's not, it does not. Okay, so again, be sure you're paying attention to the blue. And I cannot see chat if anybody's asking any questions. So, okay, mission 14. A bunch of things here that go into your forum. The minecart. Now this minecart that goes into the forum here is the other team's minecart. Okay, it's not your minecart, it's the other team's. So when you push yours over, they push theirs over. You can take their minecart and move it to the forum. That's not yours. Okay.
Jay, I just want to clarify for
Yep.
mission 14.
Yep.
When they say no touching, that
Mhm.
means that if any equipment is touching any one of those 7 things, none of the points count?
No, so we have instruction that each mission model. I mean that's a fair question actually, and might be one we'll have to kick around a little bit. But the instructions as I read them are that each mission model is evaluated separately. But I know what you're getting at here. Since it's part of the same mission, does one count? You know, if it's touching one thing, does it take the points away from the other? If the same mission model is used with another mission model where the constraint does not apply, it can earn points as usual. Each mission model is evaluated separately from within its respective mission. So we'll probably kick that one around a little bit, Jen. I think that was Jen. But I'm fairly certain that we're going to count these all separately.
Okay, and then similarly, if it's touching in mission 14 in the forum, does it still count as its previous mission? So let's say I take the brush from 2 and I stick it in the middle, but it's touching something else. Does that negate the points from 2?
I think it's a fair question as well, and
I think we need to talk about that.
we'll talk about that one. Yeah, I don't want to. I mean, I definitely have an opinion on it, but I don't want to go too far in the weeds there until we have a discussion about it. But one good news here, if you guys, so they have to be delivered to the forum, right? And they have to be touching the mat at least partially, and partially in. So one thing that we can offer you guys is they don't have to be touching the mat inside the forum. So if the minecart is touching the mat on the outside and is hanging over into the forum, that still counts. Okay.
I have a question on the, I think it's the buildings in the forum. Does that
Okay.
count as something being touched if, say, the robot ends and it's touching what looks like pillars? Is that going to count as touching?
Do you mean the lines on the mat?
No, there's the mission 13 statue rebuild. Obviously, you can't touch that, but then
Oh.
there's the
Like
what looks like
barricade
pillars.
pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If something's touching that, does it kind of like part of the whole deal?
So I think that the robot would have to be touching these items to be considered for 14.
Okay.
If it's touching 13,
Well,
that doesn't
we
affect
have-
14.
We have to clarify if those barricade parts surrounding the forum on the other corners than the statue are part of the forum's mission model.
Yeah,
Right.
I see what you're getting at. We need to double check.
Thank you. That's my question.
So our head referee meeting is next Tuesday. So unfortunately, we'll kind of have this waffling a little bit next week as well. We're answering a good amount of these as best we can based on experience on how we think it's going to go. But we also don't want to start putting you guys down a road of programming one way and having to change it. So sorry about that. One thing I did I did not mention the ore blocks here on the forge. These are meant to be set up randomly. That's done by design. They're not meant to be any specific way. So you can expect that they will be random. Okay. And for newer coaches, if your team has not figured this part out yet, I'm sure you will very quickly, but you can drop all three of these, scoop them with your robot, can scoop them back into home, and once they're in home, you can handle them by hand. Okay, but they have to be completely in home. So if you guys want to crack them open in home and see if it's the ore block, or, I mean, they are weighted differently. You can tell the difference when you pick them up. So. Same as previous years we've had for the last probably 4 or 5 years now. You get 6 precision tokens. So you start with 6. If you interrupt the robot outside home, the referee takes 1 away. So the first one, we like to say it's free. The first time we take a precision token, you still get the same amount of points for 5 and 6. So kind of count that as your free rescue. Okay. Make sure you know the definitions of everything. These are very important. This is what the field is. So the field is the table, including the walls. Make sure you understand equipment. That's very, very important. Launching. So when you're launching a robot, you have to launch the robot from the actual launch area. Did I already pass it? Already passed it. Okay. So your home area is your left-hand side and this quarter circle, and your right-hand side and the quarter circle. The launch area is just the quarter circle. So when you're launching your robot, everything that you are getting ready to launch and you're intending to move has to be inside this area. Okay? So you can't have anything hanging out into this area. It has to be, this is launch, this is home. So once you launch the robot, this becomes part of home. The entire area is home, but this is a specific launch area. So if you're scooping things back into this area, this is the home area once the robot's launched, but this is specifically the area you have to launch in, the blue or the red. We'll go in more depth about interrupting the robot. Maybe we'll do a little bit more of that each week about what happens when you interrupt and stuff like that. I don't want to take up 2 hours of everybody's time here. All your equipment that you can use. If you have a question about what you can and cannot use, feel free to ask. There are some other robot controllers. There's EV3s, NXTs that are also still legal to use. So if you have a question, let us know. The easiest way to get a hold of us is on Slack. Oh, sorry, this is actually the one I was looking for. Okay. I'm trying to figure how much of this we really want to get into. Probably not a lot. Yeah, I think we'll go with, we'll let you guys kind of ask any questions you have, and then each week as we go along, we'll answer some of these, or we'll go through in depth some of these rules and what happens when you interrupt a robot inside partially, outside partially. You can get very long conversations though. Anything else you want to add on that, Allison, or add in general?
Nope,
Okay.
I don't think so. We're going
That's
to have a lot more answers after the head ref meeting.
Right,
so
right.
the more questions we have to answer at that meeting, the better it's going to be for everyone for continuity's sake.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing that. Again, I couldn't see questions. I don't think. Do we have any questions there?
No.
Nope.
Okay. We'll check in with Craig, Brian, and Allison again before we go down the road of answering robot game questions. So
All right.
if you guys have anything.
All right. So thank you, Jay and Allison. Why don't we just open it up to any general questions, and then we'll wrap it up with a couple last items. Going once, going twice. All right. So the last two items then are the town hall, which has a couple questions in the chat here. So it's really for the state of Wisconsin, first programs, FLL, first tech challenge, and first robotics challenge. So it's going to be a very general meeting. I'm just putting together two slides, probably 10 minutes of conversation, and then Q&A. So the truth is, if you're on this call and you're paying attention to the newsletter, you already know more than what I'm going to talk about at that particular meeting. On the other hand, if you are interested in the high school programs, First Tech Challenge and First Robotics Challenge, or your kids that get older, or maybe they're on the shoulder, seventh and eighth graders, they can participate in FTC. Um, that may be of interest to see if that was something that you might want to pursue in future years. So it's just a general discussion about FIRST programs in Wisconsin. It's on Microsoft Teams. BadgerBots, as I mentioned earlier, is it's responsible for the FLL programs. FIRST Wisconsin is responsible for the two high school programs, FTC, First Tech Challenge, and FRC, First Robotics Challenge. So we want to give people an opportunity to ask general high-level questions, get information about the programs, and so that's what that town hall is all about. So it may be more than just coaches. It could be, parents that are interested in getting their kids involved, things of that nature. So it'll be very general. So that's the town hall. I mean, of course, everybody's welcome to attend, as far as I know. So, and then the last item then is next week's Zoom will, if you saw in the newsletter today, we are going to have an archaeologist on the call. Kids are welcome to kind of watch in the background if you want, if you will. We don't want to see pictures of kids on the screen because we can't have 300 teams asking this particular guest speaker questions. We are going to be limited in the time and the Q&A time. He is going to come prepared. I've given him the engineering notebook. And so he does know what the theme of the season is, of course, and how it's specifically worded by FIRST. So I've given him a couple ideas of how it could be very useful. I guess the point of doing this is there's a couple. One is, of course, to introduce the topic appropriately, the theme this year, and give you guys, coaches, a path. He's not going to go into great detail about specific ways technology can help archaeologists, but he'll plant enough seeds, hopefully, that could send you in a lot of different directions. The other aspect is that as we're doing this, well, as most of the experienced coaches know, your kids are always expected to use resources, and this is one of them. You're welcome to use. Excuse me. But like I said, it's really just the starting point to make sure everybody is able to be on the right path. The questions, what we'll do is coaches will have to ask questions via the chat. And then I'll ask either Brian or Jay to monitor the chat, kind of assemble the questions together. And then we'll, ask two or three at the end of the presentation. So it is still for coaches, but if you want your kids to be involved, that's fine too. And as I mentioned earlier, we will have it up on the YouTube channel, so then you can watch it with your teams together at your leisure. So that's what's going on next week. I asked him for a 15-minute presentation, the basics of archaeology, and then roughly 10 to 15 minutes of Q&A. So we'll see how that goes. It's the first time that we've done this, bring an expert into one of our Zoom calls. So, we'll see how it goes. We're willing to try new things every year. So, any questions about that or the town hall? All right. If not, then we'll call it an evening. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Again, we'll be doing this every Monday throughout the season. So best of luck to everybody. Look forward to seeing you at the regionals.
One
Have a
thing,
good evening.
so just before
Oh.
we go, I just want to make sure we let people know that you can ask questions during the week. The easiest way to get a hold of us is on the Slack channel. I think there's a link to that in your newsletter, right? I think so.
Yes.
Okay. There is a referee channel there. There's a judge channel there. There's a coach to coach. There's all kinds of different channels there. Try to use the appropriate channel. We'll get back to you guys as soon as we can. We're usually pretty responsive, but we unfortunately do all still work day jobs. So for Brian, he might be rich by now. So we'll get back. We'll get to you guys as quick as we can. Thanks, guys. We appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Jay. Yep.